Hello everyone, welcome to another Rick's Picks. Today I'm going to be doing my review of the Donatello Metalhead two-piece set by Loyal Subject. So I'm kind of excited about this. I've always been a big Metalhead fan, and it's kind of neat that they put these two together in a pack because these are the comic book figures. They're based off of the new wave of comics. So not only is it neat that, Donatello and Metalhead are together because Donnie is the tech person, but there's also another special relationship between these two figures in the comics. I suggest that you check that out. It's a pretty cool storyline. So with that being said, if you do like this review, go ahead and check out my Ninja Turtles playlist and hit that like, share, and subscribe. So without any further ado, let's get to the review. So here they are in packaging. I do like the packaging for this. I think this looks really nice. So first off, you have this nice green barrier. I do like that. Got Loyal Subject up here in the corner. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, your age restriction. And then you got their names here. You have this nice open window so you can see both figures and all their accessories. Spinning around to this side, you have a continuation of the window. Turtles, Loyal Subject. On the back here, got some nice art here. Now, I do like the artwork to this with Donatello and Metalhead. I think that looks really cool. And they have it split up here. So you have Donatello, all his accessories here. Metalhead, all his accessories and play features. You got the turtles up there. Got a little bit of information here. And then you get a little bit of legal underneath. Spinning around here, you got the continuation of your window, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The same with the top. So if you want to see the figures in packaging through the top, you could do that as well. And then last but not least, you got your SKU and legal. So all that being said, let's open them up and see what they're about. So first, we're going to take a look at Donatello. Now this is a good looking figure. I like his overall look to him. He definitely captures the look from the comics. So we're going to start off with the rotation. You have this side here. You have here, whoops, the back. You have this side. And you have the front. Now let's start looking at some of his finer details. So I do like the head sculpt. The head sculpt looks nice. I like some of the detailing into the body. You can see all these muscles. Even in the shell, you can see like scratches and stuff like that. And in the wrap. And then you have like open spots for the knees. The same with the elbows. You look at the elbows, you can see that. Now, one of the issues I have here is you can see the pegs. I think it would have been nice if they would have painted the pegs over with a purple so it blends in with his arm wraps so they're not so visible. But for this figure, that's a minor issue. As I've always said in a lot of these turtle videos, I always feel like the paint could have been just a hair better with these figures. But overall, I think he looks really good. All right. Now, these figures don't have holes in their feet for a stand, so I'm going to do the best I can with them without it. So now we're going to look at his points of articulation. So first off, the head does move. All right. You got a shoulder joint. That up with a swivel. Now this shoulder don't want to go very high. Let's try the other arm. Nah, the arms don't go much higher than that. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. I would like his arms to go a little bit higher, but you got elbow joint and you have a wrist joint. Now there is no body joints. All right. So you have to go over to the legs now. So you got a thigh joint with a swivel. You got a knee joint. You should have a swivel right up here at the top of the wraps. You don't. And then you also have an ankle joint. So all his joints seem to move very well. I don't have any issues with any of his joints other than the factor that I can get him to stand. Other than the factor that his elbows don't go, I mean, not his elbows, I apologize, his shoulders do not go up any higher than this. I would have liked them to get a, higher reach. But with that being said, let's take a look at what he comes with. So he has another head. He comes with 2 bandana pieces for the heads. You got this one here. Got that one there. Comes with 4 hands. So he has this open hand. Right. He has his semi-open hand. This might be used to hold something, like maybe one of his tools. Right. He has this hand here, which I'm going to guess is probably to hold another tool. All right. He has a closed fist. All right. He has a set of goggles. He has his bow staff, but now this is a metal bow staff. So they just basically took the wood one and painted it silver to make it look metal. So it's a repaint of the wood just to look silver, but still, it's meant to be a metal pole. So I will give them, props on that. And he comes with 2 tools. So he comes with this here, which looks to be some sort of electronic tool, to fix things. And he comes with a wrench. Now, just like any of the other turtle figures, he does come with a card. He has his card here. Flip it around this way. Tells you a little bit about him and what have you. So with all that being said, let's see how well all this stuff works with him. So let's start with the bow staff. All right. So we're going to slide it into this hand with no issues. Swap it over like this. All right. Oops. Hands cooperate here. Ugh. Let's do it like this. All right. So, as you can see, the bow staff fits in both hands. I don't have any issues with that. When I slide this out of here, it's a little tight, but it works. You got a spot for the bow staff right here in the back. And that just slides right in there. No issues. Let's get these 2 alternate hands. I think they're meant for these tools. All right, that popped off pretty easily. And that pops in there very well. No issue swapping that hand out. I'm going to say this might be for the wrench. All right. So the wrench does work with this hand. All right, don't go all the way down because it kind of stops around this bottom finger. You may be able to. Oh no, that's a hard finger. Maybe if you add a little bit of heat or something, you may be able to get that down in there further. Or it could be used for this tool. All right, so if you like kind of spin it around, I guess maybe it was meant more for this, so you could have the finger on that button, so make it like he's working with it. I want to see if the wrench will work with the bow staff hand. Yeah, you could kind of get the wrench in here as well. All right. Now let's try this other hand, the bigger open hand. Oh yeah, the wrench fits a lot better in this hand. So obviously the wrench is meant for this hand. That other hand I just had in there was meant for that tool. And then the other 2 hands were made for the bow staff. So now let's pop this hand off. Let's see how well things work with this hand. All right, so that popped off pretty easily. Boop. That hand popped in there very well. No issues. Might as well try to close fist while we're at it because everything is kind of moving and grooving the way it should. And that pops in there just as easily. Now, on the back here, you got a hole for his bandana. And Popped in there very easily. No issues. And now let's get this other head. That pops in there as well, just as easily. All right, let's see how well the goggles work with him. Maybe it goes up top like this. All right, so the goggles work very well with this head. No issues with that. And now let's do the head swap. All right, that's a little tight, but it came off. Boom. All right, so the more angry face, probably the one that you'd be using with the bow staff, fits in there pretty nice as well. So everything seems to swap out very easily. I didn't have any problems swapping out heads, hands, and accessories. Now, one thing I will say that I'm a little bit disappointed is you spin them around, you got all these neat little pouches and stuff. I think it would have been really cool if they would have had a spot for both the wrench and maybe a spot over here for his work tool, just to hook him into his belt. I mean, if you really want to, you could probably slide them in between the belt and the shell, excuse me, like that. If you really want to, just put them in between here, like this. All right, so you can kind of get them in there. But I think it would have just been nicer if there would have been just a spot for them, like how you have with the bow staff. But other than that, I pretty much like everything that's going on with this. So next up is Metalhead. Now, he looks amazing. I love the overall look to this figure. So first off, let's give him the rotation. So you have this side, you have that side, got your back, you have this side, and back around the front. Now we're going to look at the finer details about this figure. But what I'm really liking about this figure is he probably has one of the better paint jobs I have seen in this line yet. So let's take a real close look at him. So you can see his eyes are definitely defined by that black background. All right, you have all these little paint spots. You even have a red spot here for an interface. If you look at the shoulder joints, you got these red pieces as well. And then like these are detailed with a blue. Your shin guards, your feet, even into the hands, you get like a lot of really neat, intricate detail in the elbows. I mean, they definitely put work into the paint job for him. Even when you look at the face here, you can see this green and red. So, like I said, I like the paint job on him. I think they did a really good paint job with him. They looks like they took time with him to get a lot of the intricate details and stuff done with him. So, like I said, I feel like he's one of the better paint jobs. I mean, yeah, still they could have painted the pegs here just to make them match up a little bit better. But overall, I like his paint job. I think, once again, it's one of the better paint jobs of this line of figures. So now let's start looking at his points of articulation. So the head does move. A little tight, but it does move. You got a shoulder joint. You got a swivel. And you have an elbow joint, as long as a wrist joint as well. All right, you have a little bit of body movement, not much, because the shell stops it from moving. Oh, that's from the back. We'll get into that later. You swivel them around this way. You got a thigh joint with a swivel. You have a knee joint. I don't think you have any kind of foot joint. No, there's no joints in the foot. So all his joints work pretty well. I like his overall look, and I like how his joints move. So now we're going to start getting into his accessories. So first off, you have an alternate head. All right. And even this head, the painting is nice. So like these little reflective, I guess they're probably like lights. They took time to paint those in, and it gives it real character and stuff. Same with the faceplate. And then that's where the head's going to hook in. All right. He has this little engine pack here with a spoiler on it. And even with this, once again, you get the little silver engine pieces. It makes them pop, make them stand out. So I do like that as well. All right. You have this little weapon here. They added in the gold and everything to it. So I do like that as well. Same with this hand. I guess it's like a little machine gun or whatever. But once again, it just add these little tidbits of silver to it, which gives it a little bit more style. All right, so now you have your bottom wheels. All right, there's one, there's two. And now your hand wheels. So you have this one here. All right. And you have that one. So now that we looked at everything, except for one more thing, it comes with the card. All right. So let's see how well all this works with them. So first off, let's do the hand swaps. It's going to fight me a little bit. Try this hand first then. Now the problem I'm having here is getting a grip on these hands to pull them out. Hate to use a tool on this. So you may have to use heat to get these out of there because they're in there really tight. Oh wait, there it goes. All right, so finally maneuvered that one out. Let's get this one out as well. And it's just a matter because you just don't have nowhere to grip these because of how he's designed. Yeah. All right. We're going to get the heat. Okay, so I was hoping to not have to use heat. Usually with these figures, I usually have to use the heat for the head swaps. But the way how his hands sit in there, it's just going to make life a whole lot easier just to heat it up and pop these things out of here, hopefully. Now, that's still giving me trouble. Let's let that sit in there for another minute. So, we're letting that hand heat up. Might as well throw this one in there too. And, all right. There it goes. So now I was able to get the hand out with heat. So, damn, that's hot. That's the other hand. So let's see how easily these swap out now with the heat. Boom. And boom. All right, so now both of these cannons are in there pretty easily. All right, let's hook these wheels on. Matter of fact, let's pop this other head in there. I'm sure that's going to use it. All right. All right. So boom, there goes one wheel foot. They just clip in there. So I wait to hear the clip. There it goes. So now the feet wheels are in. So if you want them in robot mode and riding on those wheels, you can. But you're definitely going to need some sort of stand because he isn't going to, work like this. So if you want them like something like that, you're going to have to use some sort of stand, maybe like a hip stand or something like that to hold him in place. Now let's get these guns out of here. Pop that one out. All right, that's going to be a bugger to get out of there because there's nowhere at all to grip this. None whatsoever. So once you get that in there, it's kind of a bear to try to get it out of there. Let me put a little bit more heat on that. So the problem I'm really having with these hands is they really sit in there. So when you see this, they sit in there and they sit pretty flush. So it's hard to pull them out. You just can't get any kind of grip on these things. All right, let's try this again. In fact, I got a screwdriver right here. See if I can pry that out of there. I don't like prying stuff like this because there it goes. All right, so I got those out. All right, now let's try these wheels. All right, that pops in there pretty easily. The same with that. Now let's swap this head out. Get them into that roller kind of look. All right, that head is fighting me now too. So you're definitely going to want to use heat with this figure. That's for sure. Because all his joints are really fighting me to come off or on. All right, let's try this head now that it's softened up a little bit. Oh, man. Ugh. That head does not want to come off. Let that sit a little bit longer in there. And let's see if we can really get this head off. I really don't want to use a tool or anything to pull that off of there. So I'm using pretty hot water for this. Oh, man. Oh, there it goes. Okay. And, oh, okay. Yep. Totally came apart. There we go. All right, now let's try this roller head. All right. Now, once sitting in the hot water, that pops on very easily. Now, that piece of shell here, they saw pop off earlier, that just goes on here. And that's for this engine here. That just pops right in there like that. So now you have this engine look. Get the feet down, the arms. And you kind of ride something like this. All right, get the wheel straight. All right, so now you can roll around like that. It's kind of like a street mode. You can adjust it however you need to, but for the most part, he works pretty well. All right, so now that we looked at everything else, now we're going to look at the glow feature on this figure. So I'm going to cut off the lights and we're going to see how well he glows. All right, so as you can see, glow effects do work on him. All right, so the knee guards glow, the feet glow, the band around his eye also glows. The same with around his joints here. So the glow feature seems to work pretty well with him. I don't have any issues with this. All right, even though we're not at full darkness, but it's still dark enough to actually see the glow effects. Matter of fact, probably if I put them further back into the dark, you can see it a little bit better. But it does work. I don't have any issues with that. All right, so my final thoughts on this set is it's a pretty good set. It has its pros and it has its cons. So let's get into Donnie first. Donnie, I like his overall look to him. All his joints move very easily. His hands swap out pretty good. The head took a little bit of work.
If you want to use heat on it, you could probably make your life a little bit easier swapping out the heads. All his accessories work fine with him. I don't have any issues with Donnie. Just the usual stuff. The paint could have been a hair better, but other than that, he's a good figure. I don't have any issues with him. Now we get into Metalhead here. I love his paint scheme. He looks really good. There's a lot of detail that makes him pop and stand out. I love the overall look to him. All his joints move very well. Now it's time to get into his accessories. So the head swapped out pretty good with the hot water. My hot water was kind of cooling off a little bit, so it could have worked a little bit better. But once you get some good hot water on that head should swap out pretty easily. I don't have any issues with that. The same with the wheels on the feet. They swap out pretty good as well. Now it's when you get into the hands. And the problem is the way how the hands are designed, it's hard to get your fingers in there. Even with the heat, like with everything soaking in hot water, it was hard for me to pull those pieces out because I just couldn't get a grip on certain parts and I just couldn't pull them out. So that's a bit of an issue. Not a major issue, excuse me. But overall, it is an issue, and it could be a real pain in the rear to try to swap the hands out and the wheels and the weapons. So other than that, I do feel like this is a good set. It has its flaws, but they're not major flaws. They're things you can work around. So I would still recommend these guys to go with your Ninja Turtle collectibles. So with that being said, I hope you all did like this video. If you did, go ahead and check out my Ninja Turtle playlist and hit that like, share, and subscribe. And also leave a comment. I really want to hear from you guys. I like talking to you guys when you comment. So with that being said, until the next one, late.